So a few weeks ago, Soap and Clay Kidlet #1, well, both of them took the channel over, and I guess the story's about both of them. So the Soap and Clay Kidlets were talking in their channel takeover, Soap and Clay Kidlet #1 specifically, that she was teaching herself how to sew plushies based on some YouTube videos that she has seen. And on that day, she didn't do so hot. She messed up. And so after we were done, we went inside and we fixed it together, and she has since become very, very good at it. Like, she's making all kinds of stuffies. It's amazing. My house is filling up with all manner of stuffies with cool eyes, and she's being very inventive with the things that she uses for face and eyes, and it's very cool. And as an added bonus, she's going through all of my scraps of fabric, which is excellent. And I love that for me because I can't not hoard fabric. Are you like that? I use it for something and like, well, I mean, there's still something in this. Fold it up, you put it into a drawer, and you really never use it again, but she's using it, and so that's awesome. Soap and Clay Kidlet #2 comes into play with this because she continues to tell Soap and Clay Kidlet #1 that she wants a dog. And if you're an OG Sudser, you know that Soap and Clay Kidlet #2 loves dogs. So that's why she's always asking for dogs. And with every new dog that Soap and Clay Kidlet #1 makes for her, she just gets bigger and bigger with the designs, and they just get more and more glammed out, and they're the most stunning creation at this point. The last one that she made was like half black, half pink, had switched eyes, so like pink on the black and black on the pink, and all of these shiny, bedazzled everything. She found some fake leather that I had, and she made like a skirt for it. It's incredible. And Soap and Clay Kidlet #2 saw that today and just started crying. It was like the most amazing thing she'd ever seen in her life. And I was big proud of like both of them, really, because they're having cool sister time. And now Soap and Clay Kidlet #2 wants to make Soap and Clay Kidlet #1 a plushie to thank her for all of the ones that she's been making for her. And so I just thought it was nice and it warmed my heart. And that just happened as I walked in here, and I wanted to share it with you because this is my time. I will tell you about the recipe that we are doing today in just a minute, but before I do, hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. One, two, three. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 151 of 365 days of soap, and we are doing a recipe day, and it's a 100% olive oil recipe, because we just had the olive oil deep dive, so it makes sense. Now, we're doing this a little bit different, and we're actually doing a couple things. One, I have done an olive oil recipe on the channel before, and it's really, really old. This bar is at least 18 months old at this point. So we are going to test the lather on that compared to the lather that we got when we first made it. But also for this particular recipe, we are of course going to test that lather, but we are going to use olive oil pomace because that is something that I've seen bandied about on the internet over and over and over again about how you should not use pomace because it accelerates trace. And that has never been my experience with the pomace. Now, granted, this is not a complicated soap. There's not a lot going on with it. So as far as accelerating trace, well, it's a one-color bar. So, but as I've shown you in at least 2 other recipes with complicated swirl designs, pomace does not tend to accelerate trace for me. just my experience with it all. It might have done so for you. All soapers approach soap differently, but we're going to be using olive oil pumice as well as a couple of fun additives to help really tamp down that immediate sliminess of the olive oil soaps, because I always find them to be very, very slimy. So let's go to the pour and we'll talk about that there, now. Okay, so it is a recipe day, and we are using an olive pumice today. 5% superfat, 16 ounces of pumice, 6 ounces of water, 2 ounces of lye. Interestingly, the lye and the water did not really change too terribly much from the palm that we did last week. Now why is that? Well, you have to go to the saponification values, don't you? The saponification values of olive oil is 0.135, right? And the saponification value of palm is 0.141. So yeah, no, in a batch this small, it's really not going to change much. So I decided to use, after last week's palm oil thing, okay, because palm oil has a beautiful little lather. Teeny tiny bubbles, but very gentle, gorgeous feel on the skin. Nothing is left behind. It rinses very cleanly. It is not drying, right? Now, olive oil, definitely not drying. Very much a moisturizing bar, but it just has this slime to it. And I hate that. And so I thought, well, let's use basically the same additives. And by basically, I mean literally exactly the same additives with the olive oil soap that we did for the pumice, or the palm, excuse me. And yeah, let's do an emulsion check with all that. You see how it's separating? Now I'm soaping very, very cold. It's a cold room, cold oils, cold lye. It's getting thick-ish, but as we could see with the stick, it started separating into, oil and water. It's not saponified. And so the best tip I can give you and have given you when figuring out, look, that's still separating. You see that? Still separating. Just pull your stick out every once in a while. Shit. Nope. No, just pull your stick out and inspect it. Good times will be had by all. And just wait like 10 seconds and see if it starts separating. Now, as I said before, olive oil, there's a lot of talk about how if you use olive oil versus olive oil pumice, that's a nice emulsion. Ship it. If you use olive oil or olive oil pumice, well, it accelerates trace. Olive oil pumice, it's not the best thing to use. Granted, with this particular recipe, there is no scent that's going into it. There's no, difficult design with all of this. But in my experience, using pumice versus EVOO has not mattered. As long as you understand what emulsion is and you stop at emulsion, it doesn't really matter if you're using olive oil like EVOO or olive oil pumice. And we talked about why in the olive oil deep dive. And just like for the record, just off the bat, I don't like, and I think I've already said this multiple times, I don't like 100% anything soaps. I really, really don't like 100% olive oil soaps. The lather is slimy, it takes too long to cure, and even after that cure, you still don't get a good big bubble. But I thought I would put the sugar in to this batch and see if we could increase the bubble, right away. And I really only included the sugar to see, again, if we could get a better bubble right off the bat. And we will be testing a bar of olive oil soap that I made well over a year ago on this channel. You can go check it out and see if the lather improved. Now, that was a rock hard bar of soap, so it was easy to, cut right away. which this one is not going to be because I did a different recipe for that. But I wanted to see if the sugar would actually change the lather in any significant way with a 100% olive oil soap. And so let's go to the Unmolding and see what we came up with for the olive oil soap. Okay, and on to the cut / unmolding. And this has only been in the mold for maybe 18 hours, and it's still soft. Now, you remember the what does lye heavy soap look like? It kind of looks like this-ish, you know? But when you are dealing with a 100% oil soap of anything, you are going to be running into, problems like this. Like, maybe it's lye heavy. It's not. The actual all the numbers calculate and they are fine. It's not lye heavy. It takes longer to saponify and wildly longer to cure. So as a result, I can't use this stupid mold for another, I don't know, maybe a week, and that sucks without damaging the corners. Because olive oil takes longer to saponify, because olive oil takes longer to cure, which are things that we talked about in the olive oil deep dive. That said, I'm still going to go ahead and test this and see what the lather looks like and feels like. Because the palm oil soap last week, right? Holy shit, that felt so good on my skin. And the lather for this, it's basically the same as a palm oil soap. It's kind of sparse. But like, can you see that there's actual sliminess coming from, did you see that? Do you see that, like the connection from one hand to the other? It's slimy. It's hard to rinse away. I don't know why people do this. I really don't. And, just for funsies, let's go back to the other two that we've done so far with the 100% and oil soap. And again, for the record, I don't think you should ever do a 100% anything soap. Now, this is the palm. Tiny bubbles, but unlike with the olive oil, it feels really good on the skin. It rinses away cleanly. You don't have to worry about any, residue hanging out in your skin. And then here's the coconut. And the coconut would be that's a good bubble payoff right there. Right there. Good bubble payoff right away. That's delightful. Unfortunately, with coconut oil, the bar is going to, well, A, it can be drying, but 2, it's going to disappear faster because of the fatty acid chains. Now, this is a soap that I have used, or that I made, well over a year ago. And let's see how different the lather actually is. It's kind of still not. Like, there's not a lot of lather. It still feels slimy. I don't like it. I mean, I get that there's a place for that type of soap, like in the world, I suppose. But for me, in my line, I still go back to the whole, you should have a well-balanced batch O soap. It should be 3 oils, no more than 5, because that's overly complicated. Really leaning into the fatty acid profiles. And like, I don't know, maybe don't do 100% olive oil soaps. But that is day 151. There's a recipe. And there it is, the olive oil soap, and no real chemical difference. As we discussed in the olive oil deep dive, there's no real difference chemically between olive oil pomace, EVO, you get it. You watched it. And so as far as soaping goes, it doesn't really make sense that it would actually accelerate. But for me, again, personally, mine doesn't accelerate. It's a very cool, cost-efficient alternative to use for soaps if you're making 100% olive oil soaps, which by definition tend to look pretty simple, right? Because if somebody's wanting this very, very gentle, moisturizing bar of soap, they also probably don't want over the top with all of the colors and glitz and glam. So even if it does accelerate for you, Pumice is a really good, affordable alternative to extra virgin or organic or all of the other olive oils because chemically it performs basically the same in soap. So there's that. That lather test for that bar that's been sitting around for like 18 months. Wild, right? Super cool. So olive oil is one of those that, I've talked about cure and how I hate the term and how I hate that people just like randomly assign a specific time frame to it. That's all garbage. That has so much to do with the oils that you're using. It has to do with your recipe more than anything else. But olive oil is one of those that, it's still going to take a lot longer to cure and actually develop a lather that I can even stand on my hands. Because no hate to people who love olive oil soaps, I'm not a fan. But if you are and you want to make this recipe, go do so. That would be excellent. These are not available for sale, but if you are interested in anything else I sell, it's at soapandclay.com. For my sudsers, hey, thank you so much for joining me for another round of 365 days of soap. I appreciate you every day, and today that's true too. I'm out of here for today, but I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.